Have you ever wondered what a poker player does after losing 20,000? They lay in bed all day staring at the wall, thinking what the fuck they could have done with that money. Welcome to the channel. In all seriousness, this past week of poker, I lost a little bit of money, a bit of a downswing. In the video today, I'm going to walk you through a few of the pivotal hands that led to the downswing. Losing $20,000 in a week sucks. Unfortunately, it's not my first time. Most likely will not be my last time. The loss this week, really the majority of it came from the one session that I played of 5-5-25, which I lost $15,000 in that game. So perspective, given the stakes, it's really not that large of a loss. The remaining 5,000 loss, I traveled this week to a local casino so I can get in more hours. Pretty much was even on the trip, and kind of in literally the last 2 or 3 hours of the night, I lost two hands and ended up being down 5,000 on the trip. And that was in 5-5-10, which, over the course of 3 days is really nothing, almost a paper cut. But not good for the week. It led to a 20K loss, and it's annoying, but it's kind of the cost of doing business. I'll put a link below, but if you look at my 2023 results, I think I had 5 downswings of over 20,000 en route to a pretty decent year. So it's just something I've learned to accept, and is the cost of doing business. In this video, I'm going to share a few interesting hands that I played this week, give my thought process, and any learnings that I hope that you can incorporate into your game, and maybe I can incorporate to my game going forward during this review. In this video, I'm going to share 2 hands, and in a part 2 of this video, I'll have the second 2 hands. Okay, so the first interesting hand I want to share with you guys, and it's from the first game, so it's a 5-5-25 game, and the $25 button comes on the straddle. If you love PLO like I love PLO, do the right thing. Take a moment to hit the subscribe and like button for more PLO content. In this hand, I'm in the button with double suited 9-high rundown. Perfect rundown. So a beautiful hand. And we play quite a quick bot. So let me walk you through the action. The small blind player who's first to act, because it's a button straddle, he opens to $75. We get a call in middle position, and then I'm on the button with the perfect double suited 9-high ride down. I raise to 300. We get called in 2 spots. My thought process for 3-betting this hand, obviously it's just a beautiful smooth hand, and I'm looking to play a big pot. We're all relatively deep stacked. I think the first raiser has 6,000, the middle position caller has around 3,500, and I'm sitting with 5,000. So these are nice hands to play with deeper stacks, because you have hands that your opponents are less likely to put you on. Okay, the board comes 3-7-8 with 2 clubs. Basically, I flop gen. I have top 2 pair, open-ended straight draw, and a flush draw. I'm willing to play for stacks here, so pretty excited with this flop. The first player checks. The second player leads for $400. There's $900 in the pot, and this player's leading $400. It's kind of an awkward size. I'm not really sure what it means. In the moment, I was thinking like, okay, maybe he just has like a pair and a straight draw with no flush draw. Maybe he has top and bottom pair and just kind of wants to get to the turn and river cheap and set his own price with kind of this smallish bet. However, we have fucking gen on this board. We're not having any of it. I then pot. The decision is back to him. The next player folds, and the decision's on him. The middle position, who led on this board, he tanks for a while, kind of regretting his decision to bet, and he was like, oh, do you just have aces? Like, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And eventually He just goes all in and asks if I would run it twice. So I agree. We get all the money in, and the run out comes Queen of Spades, Ace of Diamonds, and then 5 of Diamonds, 9 of Diamonds. So in the top, I keep with 2 pair, and on the bottom, I make the 9 high straight. He turns over Queen 8, 4, 6. So he made a higher 2 pair on the top, and he's chopping with me on the bottom as we make the same 9 high straight. This is about as good as I can get the money in, and really ended up losing, obviously, or I got quartered here. He won 3/4 of the pot. I think this sucks, right? And this is kind of how that session went, where I played a lot of big pots and ended up losing against hands that you weren't expecting to show up in these situations. I think there's 2 ways to think about this. One, you could just be like, oh man, these poker's so much variance and so much luck. There's no way to win. But, I'm actually encouraged. If guys are willing to play 3-bet pots and stack off with these hands, sometimes I'm going to lose, but I promise you at the end of the day, as much as I get to play with that guy, I'm going to take all his money. So that was one interesting hand. Kind of played itself, but I thought it was good to show kind of how the week was going for me, especially in that first game. Hand 2, as I mentioned, I traveled and played this week in a public casino. Hand 2 happened in a 5-5-10 game. So the stakes were a little bit smaller, but we had decent sized stacks in this hand. It's not an all-in hand, but it still ended up being a quite large pot. So the action limps around to me on the button, and I open a pretty dusty Jack 10 5-8 with 1 suit. I think I was just getting bored. I had the button and wanted to put some money in the pot. Anyway, we end up going 4 ways, $60 a person, so $240 in the pot. And again, we flop gen. The board is 8-8-10, and we flop the full house. So we're loving life right here. There's $240 in the pot. It checks around to me on the button, and I bet $80. The first player calls, and the under the gun player also calls, and the other player folds. So I feel great. I made a small bet. I only bet 1/3 pot, so I think I'm going to get called by a lot of over pairs, people looking to just kind of spike gen if they can get a face card or whatever, make a higher full house. I think people do that quite a lot for a small sizing. And a lot of times I'm being called by just an 8 who hasn't made a full house yet. And occasionally we run into pocket 10s, but that is less common given this first action. So the turn card is a 7 of hearts, a relative blank. If I still have the effective nuts. It checks around to me again. This time I make a bet of $200, which I get called, and the under the gun player now raises to $500. And at this point, the sirens are going off, right? It was a little like, okay, 3 ways on this board, it could be a lot of hands. But now, with this raise coming in, it's either 8-10 or 10-10. There's no other hand that finds a raise here, especially for such a small sizing. So, nothing to be done here. I either have him beat or he's crushing me, so I call the extra $300, and the other player folds. And the river is a 3 of clubs, and the player bets $1,000. This is such a shitty spot to be in. at this point, it's pretty clear to me that I am beat, and it's just fucking annoying. Uh, I didn't waste time in the moment. I kind of just said, I know you have pocket tens, and I called. And anyway, he showed me pocket tens, and I lost the hand. This is similar to what I talked about in the full house versus full house hand that I played last week, where, I really want to challenge myself to be better in these situations. You know, just because it's so unlikely that the person has the hand that beats me because I'm blocking it doesn't mean that they can't have it. And, I don't know if I'm being results oriented. I think I always just have to put the money in here because I have a 10. But, you know, I really want to start to challenge myself to make some of these hero folds and these seemingly inevitable spots that, you just kind of have to put the money in, full house versus full house. Um, because I think that's how I take my game to the next level, right? Like, I'm good enough to fold here. I said out loud, I know you have tens, but I can't fold. Um, and then I proceeded to give him the money. But I think I can fold there. And I think going forward, I want to force myself to find those folds. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. As I mentioned, this was part 1 of the video. In part 2 of the video, I'll share 2 more hands. One hand where I lose quite a large all-in to queen high. And the next hand, I have a perfect hand to take 3 streets as a bluff, and it ends up not working out. Great. Tune in for that video in a couple days. Thank you for watching.